Hello everyone, Gene here with G Squared Tactical. As promised, I've got the NDZ Performance Spring Tuner Kit here on the table. The whole kit has it has 5 springs. It has the guide rod to replace the guide rod that is in the firearm. And I just recently done a semi sort of range review. It was nothing extensive. I apologize for that. I will have it back out at the range. I was just kind of out there. They had just sent this to me. I was excited about seeing how it performed and worked. And it's one of those things where when you're looking at it on camera, even myself, it's kind of like, well, it's kind of hard to see a difference that it made. It's one of those things where you just have to get behind it. You have to shoot it to see that indeed it does make a difference. And it just kind of seems like I was just kind of flippantly saying that with no real evidence to prove that. So I guess it just basically comes down to you having to trust me. If you do, if you don't, that's fine either way. Again, NDZ Performance. I'll put a link up right now, right-hand corner of your screen, because I know you won't write these numbers down or remember them. Thankful to be alive today, thankful for the beautiful day that the Lord has given us, and thankful to know Christ is my Savior. So let's move on to the task at hand, if you will. So they sent me this comp, as you know, and as I mentioned, I have done a semi sort of range review already on this comp. If you have not saw it, you can go over and check it out. Check out the shooting and the performance. And during the video, the guide rod spring that came in the firearm, which is from the factory at 18 pounds, did fine. There were no issues with it whatsoever. No lobbing, if you will, of the rounds. It seemed to be ejecting the rounds and going back into battery just the same as it was without the comp in there. And the comp did make a huge difference. However, because I do not yet have a ammo sponsor or anyone sending me ammunition. If anyone out there's feeling froggy, you can leap. I just shoot regular 115 grain S&B, New Republic, Winchester white box, Mag-Tech, just 115, sometimes 124 grain ball range ammunition, kind of underpowered a little bit, sort of, mostly. And it's just tough for me to go out and shoot some plus P, some heavy hitting stuff, if you will. But that's where this comp would shine at the range, and just being a range toy. But it's also effective. It's also effective in my opinion. I mean, because honestly, if you're carrying your firearm with a light on there, it's bigger, it's longer, it's bulkier anyway. This adds very little length to your barrel at all. This is a 2-stage comp. They make a 3-stage and a single stage, so it's multi-stage basically, but it's 3 different comps. So one would have a single cutout or port. This one has 2, and then they have one with 3. Either way, none of them is adding more length to this particular firearm than what your light would be adding to it. So it really doesn't take up a whole lot of space. It's not bulky, doesn't have snag points or anything like that. Totally carryable, and it allows you to stay on target and shoot a lot faster. So, but a lot of times what you run into when you add things to your firearm, such as a suppressor, a comp, you run into issues with it being, in most cases, with it being undersprung. So this firearm already came from the factory with a threaded barrel. So I would assume they put a 18-pound spring in there because that's what they determined it would take to effectively shoot suppressed. And it did, and indeed it did. I have a video up on this firearm as well. We shot it suppressed a lot. It did fine. So I believed before I ever done the range video that the 18-pound spring that was in here would do fine, and indeed it did. However, it was so much fun shooting with this thing, turned my 19X into what was already a fun gun even more fun. So what I want to do is I want to take it back out to the range, and I want to put some hot, some plus P, basically some defensive ammo, something a little more fun to shoot at the range and a little more fair with how this would perform, because a lot of people would just see this as a range toy, something for competition. And I just kind of wanted to take a minute to show you, talk a little bit about why you would want different weight springs, as I already have, and kind of show you how easy it is to add or replace your guide rod and spring from the original factory. So this is a safe firearm, no ammunition around. So just like you would take down any Glock, just take it down. And it's gonna make a fool out of me a little bit. But anyway, so take your standard or the guide rod that came with the firearm, take it out and just lay it here like this here. So the kit came with a guide rod and a Allen key. Okay, so I just wanted to take a minute to show how this works. Now for me, what I'm going to do is, because I want to have a little bit more fun with it at the range, the kit came with a 18-pound recoil spring. Now this firearm already had an 18-pound spring in it, so that's really not going to help me any at all because that's what's already in there. So I also have a 20-pound spring. So this would be if you were running some heavier, hotter ammunition, you know, such as, I guess maybe some 124, some 147, some plus P, something a little hotter, and even more so for the, let's see which one, the 22-pounder that they put in there. So that's really if you're out there hitting hard. And what happens a lot of times is that if you run this hot ammunition, obviously, especially with the plus P, you have that extra oomph, if you will, to be able to push back on the tighter spring. Whereas if you had this 20 or 22-pound spring in here and you were just running regular ball ammo on your, or in your gun, 115, you know, whatever the foot per second, low foot per second, it would not be enough oomph to push this spring back or against the resistance of the spring. So you would have some ejection problems, going back into battery, so on and so forth. However, if you get too light, and I found this to be true with guns straight from the factory before, where they were trying to get that smooth, easy rack slide, so they slapped a 12 or 10-pound spring in there, and it was just way undersprung for a suppressor or a compensator. And so therefore what would happen in those cases is you would have battery issues. It just wouldn't, you know, sometimes it would eject the round, you'd have stove piping, or it just not fully going back into battery because the spring was just too light for the added comp or the suppressor. So that's why it's called a tuning kit, a fine tuning, so you find out what works best. I like the kit because you have all these options. If I really want to get serious and get some hot, heavy ammunition, then I have a 22-pounder. If I want to drop it down a little bit, you know, I have the 20-pounder. Both would probably perform much the same. If I just wanted some performance out at the range and, you know, wanted to be able to stay on target a little bit better, and it was just out at the range, I have a 13-pound spring here. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend carrying this or putting this in your gun for defensive purposes, carrying it around for that. I would probably stick somewhere close to what the factory spring already was, because I already know that works, okay? So out at the range, I'm sure if it would cycle and go back into battery, the 13-pounder would allow you to stay on target like no other spring in this pack, and would just be a ton of fun out at the range. So I would probably do that a little bit with this 13-pounder. But let's see, we have the 18-pounder again. You know, now if you just want to change out the guide rod, if you think it's better than the one that came with the firearm, then whatever, you have that, the 18-pounder. But what I want to do is since my 18-pound spring, after going back and watching the video and realizing that it was ejecting the rounds just the same as it was when I had my, when it did not have the comp on there at all, I'm like, you know what, maybe I could lower the weight on this thing a little bit and have a little bit more fun with it, be able to stay on target a little bit better, have a little bit lighter racking of the slide and so forth, just a little more overall fun at the range. Again, I would not carry, I don't believe I would carry that. I guess it depends on how it performs at the range. Probably wouldn't carry it with the 15-pound spring. I would probably bump up myself to the 20-pound spring because I run some pretty heavy plus P ammunition for defense, and 147 plus P in most cases, sometimes 124. So I'll probably end up putting the 20-pound spring in there. But I wanted to take time. Now, I bought some ZR tactical guide rods in the past. Some came with the spring, some did not. You use the factory spring that came with the firearm, and they were super expensive, like $75 a piece, okay? What I know is that I've never, ever one time received a bad product from NDZ Performance, not once. I have my rear slide plates. Every one that I've ever purchased for any gun has always came from NDZ. I've ordered all types of parts, accessories, and things like that. They've always been my go-to, them and Brownells, and sometimes Midways, but they're my go-to. I've never had a single issue with anything. This kit is only 40 bucks. 40 bucks, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 springs, right? You get the guide rod and the tool to replace or put the different springs on the rod. So for 40 bucks, again, that is unbelievable value in my opinion. This two-stage comp here, I think it was like $29 if you get the single. It's a few more dollars for these double and a few more dollars. But all in all, I think it's less than, it's 35 bucks plus tax or something like that for the comp. Get the kit, it's another 40 bucks. I mean, so you get an entire kit for what most guide rods cost just for the rod. Now, I don't think that it's going to be a poor product. Again, I have nothing but confidence in this company. I've had nothing but good products from them, and this feels like quality. So I'm just going to try, this may not go well, but I'm going to try to replace or add, should I say, this spring to this guide rod. So it has a screw in the, I guess that would be the front side of the rod. You could simply take it out with your hand. It came out with my hand. I didn't have to use the tool to take it out. You slide off this retainer here, and when you put it back on, you make sure that the flared outside is going down. So down on the flared outside there. So lay it down. Now this takes a little bit of hand strength, but I just slide it down over the guide rod there, and then simply just take both hands, push down. I take my screw here, I basically just get it started if I'm able to hold it while I'm doing this on camera. Oh, never mind, wait a minute, hold on now. Gotta put your retainer on there. So you put it on, again, flared side down, then you screw your screw in there. I almost forgot a step, and that was gonna go across the room here. Y'all probably would have enjoyed that. Now I just kind of hand tightened it. I own a mechanical business, so I know from just simple mechanics that once the pressure of this spring hits that, it's not going anywhere. So there's no need to slap Loctite on there or anything like that. It will stay on there. And again, just a little snug. Like I'm not gonna go get a pair of pliers and really crank down on the thing I have. It won't come off of there with the pressure of that spring and retainer on that screw. It'll be fine. But again, to remove it, simply take the pressure off of the spring and then get it started. You could take it off with your hand, remove your retainer, and just ease the spring up, and that's pretty much that. So again, this is the 16-pound spring, no, 15-pound spring that I'm putting in here to try to have a little more fun at the range. Again, put your spring on, slide it down, put your retainer on there, the wider side down, and then I basically can put the screw on there by hand. Getting it started, doing it on camera can be a little complicated. Now, if for some reason I find out that there is a need to tighten it more than that, I will report that back. But, you know, just simply slide it in the firearm. Looks good in there. Put your slide back on your gun here, and that'll be that. You know, definitely can notice or tell a difference between, you know, the factory 18-pounder and the 15-pounder. Definitely more pleasurable to rack the slide, and I'm sure that it's going to be more of a pleasure at the range. I intend to go out with several different types of ammunition and try each one of these springs just so that I can tell you guys how it performs. But man, for the price that some people charge out there for a comp and a spring kit, or just a single spring for $39, I'm telling you, I'm absolutely telling you, I have never had a poor product from NDZ. I've talked to these people personally. They're good, wholesome people. They make good products, tremendous customer service. Don't go out and spend $75, $80 just for a single guide rod with a spring on there, and then buy 2 or 3 more springs just so you can have fun with your gun out at the range, when the reality is you're probably going to run your factory spring or something very similar to that, as you should. Go out and pick this up. NDZperformance.com. Again, I'll put a link to this kit right now in the right-hand corner of your screen. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that was helpful. I hope it picks up on camera for you guys. If you have any questions, reach out. We comment to everyone in the comment section. Hit me up on Rumble. Hit me up on Patreon. Consider monthly support over there. Also, check out gsquaredtactical.com. And as always, to God be the glory.